You are probably familiar with the saying, from grass to grace, and what it refers to. Some people have, in fact, fallen from grace to grass. Delonte West is a great illustration of grace to grass narrative. He went from being a millionaire to a destitute guy. What went wrong? And now, think about everything you could accomplish with $110 million for a moment. That amount might as well be infinite for most individuals. Is it even possible to waste more than $100 million in one lifetime, much less a few years? Unfortunately, Antoine Walker, an NBA player, lost $110 million in a few years. On the other side, Delonte West went homeless. So how did this even happen? Let's find out. But before we start, how about you please hit that like button and subscribe. Also, don't forget to turn on the notification bell. And without further ado, let's get started. Delonte's had one of the most difficult childhood in the NBA. He was from a modest family. He felt like an outsider since his parents had separated and because he was always bullied for his red hair. He battled to fit in for years. Basketball was Delonte's only hope. That gave him ego and identity. When he was young, it was the only thing that brought him joy. By the time he entered high school, he had developed into a great athlete who averaged over 20 points per game. Clearly, this young man had the skills necessary to succeed in the NBA. During his junior year in college, he intensified his efforts. Delonte and Jameer Nelson, who would go on to play in the NBA, dominated the regular season. With 24th place in the 2004 NBA draft, Delonte West placed his name on the map by leading the St. Joseph Hawks to a 30-point victory while scoring 19 points per game. Delonte West's boyhood ambition was realized when the Boston Celtics officially picked him, but just as quickly as things started to look good for him, they started to fall apart. Injuries hampered his first few NBA seasons, and it wasn't until a trade in 2008 that the world began to really understand him, both positively and negatively. Delonte was given the chance of a lifetime to play with Lebron James as the Cleveland Cavaliers starting point guard when he was moved to the team. It did not take long for the Cavs to order Delonte to take a break and consult a doctor after he started yelling at teammates during the preseason. He was ultimately diagnosed with bipolar. Moreover, he experienced several emotional highs and lows. As a result, he began taking medicine, consulting with experts, and learning to live with this. Yet, it was only the start of his behind-the-scenes issues. In the following season, Delonte was entangled in a scandal that marred his reputation and cost him a medal. The Cavs participated in the 2009-2010 postseason, but the Cavaliers lost 3 straight games and were eliminated after making it to the finals against the Celtics. Sports shows instantly grabbed on the news of LeBron's tantrum, attempting to understand what occurred after he went from being an MVP player to being sidelined. They discovered something that no one anticipated. It's alleged that Delonte West was secretly dating LeBron's mother. During the championship playoff series, it's speculated that LeBron learned that Delonte was having an affair with his mother, severely affecting his performance. But was it true? Well, it's not yet confirmed, just rumors. The two athletes instantly became the biggest sports story in the world. To make matters worse, the Cavaliers chose to deal Delonte to the Timberwolves before promptly waiving him. He later signed a 1-year contract with the Celtics for the 2010 to 2011 season, but it turned out to be his worst season ever. They lost him before they even acquired him. It appears as though everything was crashing down. Fortunately, though, he was given a second shot by a different club. His years of expertise playing alongside LeBron James were of value to the Dallas Mavericks, and he was quickly picked up. As a result, the Mavs signed Delonte to a 1-year contract for the 2011 to 2012 NBA season. However, this was one of the most contentious NBA seasons ever, placing Delonte in a circumstance he hadn't experienced since middle school. Due to the NBA players and owners' inability to agree with the players' union, the league entered a formal lockout during the 2011 off-season. This meant that no clubs were allowed to sign or transfer players. Players were not permitted to use team facilities, and nobody got paid for the first time in their career or for several days. Delonte wasn't receiving a regular wage. It was discovered that he had not been managing his money at all. Delonte's family had a home in Washington, D.C. with 8 bedrooms, which they could barely afford, even when he was paid. Throughout the lockout, the family had to heat water on the stovetop to take a bath since the water heater failed. The situation deteriorated to the point that Delonte was forced to apply for a job at Home Depot. He felt ashamed of himself, so Delonte inked a new one-year deal with the Mavs before the 2012-2013 season and struggled to keep out of his own way. He was also playing a bit too hard throughout the preseason games. He started yelling at teammates and referees, and on October 15, things got out of hand. He was quickly kicked out, derailing him and sending him to the cold streets until recently when he pleaded for help and Mark Cuban responded. Unlike Delonte, Antoine Walker had it all but blew it up in a breath. Over the course of his 13-year career as a power forward for the Celtics, Hawks, Mavericks, Heat and Timberwolves, Walker earned an absurd amount of money. The 3-time All-Star came into the national scene in 1996 when he led the Kentucky Wildcats to the NCAA title. His numbers soared after Rick Pitino, his old Kentucky head coach, accompanied him to the Celtics the following season. He was named to the NBA's All-Rookie team in his first season in the league. He made 4 times as much money playing basketball as the typical NBA player. Walker, however, burnt through his millions in no time thanks to his virtually limitless generosity, appetite for the finer things in life, a hazardous gambling itch, and a little bit of bad luck in the property market. The ex-pro baller was already broke at just 38, and nobody was amused. Walker told Yahoo News that he didn't really think about it since the money was always flowing in. He had problems heeding the Financial Advisors Council, even though he had hired one in his first year as a 19-year-old rookie with more money than he'd ever imagined. He disobeyed several of his instructions due to his youthful conceit, ignorance, stubbornness, and desire to do his own thing with his money. He did waste a disgraceful amount of money on luxury stuff, but his friends and family were the first to receive treatment. With the first sizable check he took, he bought a house for his mother. He had multi-million-dollar bespoke homes built for his 5 siblings and other family members. He also treated his pals from back home to pricey trips to Cancun, Puerto Rico, and other well-known luxury locations. He wanted to demonstrate to them the lifestyle that he was living. Walker also had a fascination for high-end automobiles. He bought a Bentley for himself, a Mercedes-Benz, and a $350,000 Maybach. He was notorious for never wearing the same expensive suit again and for wearing pricey timepieces. Even while the news of his losses at the table were dramatic, the $646,900 he lost was little when compared to his overall income. But, like all wonderful things, that way of life had to come to an end. In a December 2019 interview with NBC Sports' Michael Holley, Walker discussed how the Chicago-based real estate business he created failed during the housing crisis that preceded the Great Recession. After that, he filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy in 2010 to claw his way out of the huge financial hole he had dug for himself. To be fair, he was ready to pay off the loan. He told Holley that he assumed he would be able to play basketball for a couple more years, but it never happened. However, Walker's multi-million-dollar loan was paid off in 2012, and since then, the former big shot has substantially scaled back his extravagant lifestyle. Fortunately, the Chicago home where he lives with his family is still in his name, but none of the automobiles in the driveway belong to him. He either uses Ubers or arranges for a family member to drive him. Quite an impressive story of 2 legends, right? Anyway, what would you do with $100 million? And do you think it's possible to get back on one's feet after experiencing Delonte's grace and fall? That's all from this video. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. See you in the next video.